I'm always wearing this cap along. It says his name in the front, and people ask me like, why you wear like caps like of wrestlers? And I'm like, I wear this cap because it's like someone that I want to go for, and I'm always gonna go for him. And it's Kenny Omega. I feel like the way he wrestles, like obviously, like he's evolutionized, like he revolutionized wrestling in general. But like, I just like the way Kenny wrestles. Like, I feel like if we were in the same ring, it would be magic. Cause I feel like I know the way he wrestles, and I would want like I know things how he would probably want something, and he would like same way back and forth. I feel like the match would just be like magic, honestly.
There's Epydemius. How are you?
Hello, I'm doing well. I'm glad to be here with you. This is my first podcast, so I'm ready for this.
Oh, you're going to have a good time tonight. So I'm curious. We're going to go to your mask design. And how many iterations of the mask have you done up until
Um,
today?
how many? Like I've done probably like so many. I remember like my first ever mask, like my first ever gear wasn't even like a simple colorway. It was straight into like a comic book, which was Spider-Man. That was
Okay.
like straight into it. I wanted to be Spider-Man and Epydemius Jr. at the same time.
Oh, my
But
goodness.
I probably had around like let me say once, maybe like around 7 to 10 masks right now.
How has each mask been evolving as you started, doing your wrestling thing?
Well, at first, like the first mask as the Spider-Man one has literally no breathing holes.
Oh, my
So
gosh.
it was like honestly like like covering my mouth, really like hard to breathe. But first couple matches, first couple months, I mean that's how I had to do it, like just without because that was the only mask I had. And then once I started like wrestling more and I started to get like knowing how to wrestle, knowing my times and stuff like that, I started telling like my gear maker, I think I might need like the breathing holes. And he's like, oh, okay, I'll put them on there. Cause as well, my father has the breathing holes, but he was like, I think you can do them like that. I mean, it looked fine without them. But I mean, I told him like, nah, I think it helps when I talk and like also like breathing well. So.
Yeah, and like with this current mask design, what were some nods that you started to design your current mask now?
My current mask, I mean, it kind of just like been the two holes, but well, other than that, I'm just like changing the colors, or doing like a collab with another luchador, like mixing the masks together. Like I did the recent collab with my trainer, which is Laredo Kid. When I added his spikes in the back, and like a lot of people love that, so it was really something cool for me.
Nice. And I'm sure like being a luchador, like who did you look up to as you started to learning how to wrestle? Like who were those luchadors for you?
Well, my idol, like from all time, is Laredo Kid. So
Mm.
like it was really like well that I got to train with him. I got to start off with him, like my debut matches with him. And like I've done so many things with him. Like recently I just came out as like in Mexico when they have one-on-one matches, they have someone come out with him to like help him and stuff like that. And I helped him in one of those matches to defend his belt, but in AAA. So it's like something really big. Like, damn, I came from like 8 years old starting to train with him. Now being in AAA with him, which is like really crazy.
How was lucha in Mexico compared to here in the US?
Wow, Lucha in Mexico, well, Lucha in general is just awesome. I love Lucha. Like it's just a way of you can freestyle with anything and like there's no rules. And in Mexico, the crowd is just another thing. Like there's different cities where the crowd is a little bit harder and they're a little bit more harsh. Like, they're just telling you things and they don't care nothing about the wrestling. But there's some crowd who that really love the lucha and everything you do, they're just like, oh, they're really like really into it most of the time. But here in the US, I mean, I love wrestling here since like I've noticed that the crowd is more into like knowing what we are trying to do. When to in Lucha, they just want to see everything, you know. They want to know who's gonna throw the most farthest thing. And when wrestling, it's more technical, which is like I like that difference when I like that switch that I would have to do, you know.
Especially, and how is your time in AAA? Like, what have you learned along the way? Because it's in the beginning of the year too. So, like, what were some lessons within that short time? What did you learn as you started to go through AAA's like different styles of wrestling?
Well, when I started going to AAA, I noticed a lot more fast paced. Their way Lucha obviously is a fast pace, but now that you're like in the bigger like company now like AAA and it's like TV, you have to do a lot of things more faster. Like they want things like on point. You need to go up and on fast. So it's just a really faster experience, and I feel I need to get used to that. You know, try to not be as like trying to be super fast, but be at that pace that they want them to, so they can, you know, I can be that guy for them.
Was there like, I wouldn't say culture shock. Like, how did you adapt into coming into like a Mexican wrestling promotion? Like, was there like a culture shock to begin with, or were you already used to once you started to get to know like what the ins and outs are in Mexican wrestling?
Well, when I first started, I started in the Mexican side, so like
Mm.
I kind of knew most of the stuff about Mexican wrestling. I started off in Mexican wrestling, so I kind of like knew the ins and outs of everywhere. Um, Mexico City was like the first time I've been there, but most of the
Oh,
times that I've
okay.
been recently going there was for AAA, so I kind of learned everything when I started going for AAA, you know.
But coming into the American side, was there a time to adapt? Especially being that it is a different country. Like, what were some things that you had to adapt once you started to go? Like, for example, with Battle Wars, which we're going to discuss later. Like, what were some things that you adapted as you come in from like from Mexican wrestling?
Yeah, it's a lot harder to adapt to come into like American wrestling because you need to find like moves when in lucha it's kind of just a bunch of, you know, show big aerial moves, dives, a bunch of more acrobat. When to wrestling, more ways to get into different things, more chaining. It's a lot more technical. It's literally from start to finish type thing. Like as soon as you come out of the curtain to the time you go back into the curtain, that's how I see American wrestling, and I just love it that way.
What was that match that you enjoyed working with?
The match, I feel like it was that first match that I did in AAA, which was me and Monster Extreme, which was this like 12-year-old kid, which was really amazing. Like seeing,
Really?
yeah, he's 12 years old. But I told him like he was really nervous, but I told him like, hey man, we're not that far apart. Since he's 12, I'm 18. So like, hey, we're not
That's
that
kind of
far.
a reasonable gap, though.
It's a reasonable gap, but I'm like I feel like we're both still kids coming into the big leagues. Like it's a big difference. And then we had to face like the Vipers, which was Toxin and Latigo, which like those guys are pretty big. Like now they're in GCW, they're everywhere. So it's like damn, wrestling those guys was, and especially in AAA, was something really big.
Yeah, I want to bring that up too. Like, what advice did some of AAA's talent? What advice did they impart to you, even though you had that short time?
Most of them were just like from like how what I have like in 2 years wrestling and the age I have, they see me like a prodigy, as you know, like how they see Nick Wayne and stuff like that. They see me like that, and they're like, "You got this!" Like it's just coming so natural. You kind of like you were just born into like a luchador, and they were just like, "You just gotta keep going. You're just going straight up." And I'm like, "Oh, thank you," you know. As well, like I'm just trying to make it up there, like they are, you know.
And do you see yourself with the other promotions like CMLL? Do you ever see yourself in the picture of being in another promotion down the line?
Definitely. I definitely see myself down in a different company. You know, it can be anywhere. Like I'm not just gonna stay in Mexico, you know, I'm also trying to go and follow my dream for my dream is to be in New Japan. But
Ah.
as well, another like easiest way to make it there, I feel, is by going to see them all else since they are really good friends, you know.
Yeah, and do you have, and with New Japan, like, who do you want to have as a dream match to wrestle with?
This is like something that probably won't happen anytime soon. But if
No
I
harm in trying.
Yeah, I won't stop trying. I'm always wearing this cap along. It says his name in the front, and people ask me like, why you wear like caps like of wrestlers? And I'm like, I wear this cap because it's like someone that I want to go for, and I'm always gonna go for him. And it's Kenny Omega.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, Kenny
What
Omega is like, for me. I feel like that guy will be like my dream come true. For honestly.
what was so special about Kenny to you?
I mean, I feel like the way he wrestles, like, obviously, like, he's evolutionized, like, he revolutionized wrestling in general. But, like, I just like the way Kenny wrestles. Like, I feel like if we were in the same ring, it would be magic. Cause I feel like I know the way he wrestles, and I would want, like, I know things how he would probably want something, and he would, like, same way back and forth. I feel like the match would just be, like, magic, honestly.
Were you able to get some moves from Omega as you do your match? Were there some were there some was there any homages from him on some matches that you had his moves?
There's been some matches, like, for example, like when I wrestle at some shows like here in Laredo for DSR, since they do it every Monday, I try to change my moves up every Monday so I can, not be like John Cena and the crowd screaming at me. Only I know 5 moves, so I try to find different movesets or like find things that look good, find things that almost, got me that win or whatever. But most of the time in Mondays, that's where they see me use a lot of variety, like Kenny Omega. They see me use moves like Will Ospreay. Like that's where I feel like that's where I can use a lot of things because I can practice like if it's a weekly like Monday Night Raw or Friday Night SmackDown. So I can just keep moving around things, moving moves around, trying new things. And I feel like there they see most Kenny Omega pop outs from there.
What
They're good.
so basically it's just like you basically try to incorporate some other wrestlers because will the crowd notice and say, hey, he did an Omega again in 2 weeks? Like would people notice that?
Well, yeah, there's like some people that like I'll party like even scream it out before, like you know how he does like the V trigger and then does the
Yeah.
move, and the people will be like, oh, he did it. Like I remember when I wrestled Kenneth Jr. here in Laredo, we wrestled, and he does the stand on yellow. So he does
Right.
it to me like right in my face, and I'm like, oh, okay. And then like 2 weeks passed, and I wrestled in a Monday, and before he does this, it's like something really hidden. You have to see. He takes off his glove and he tosses it to the ref, and the ref has
Mm,
to catch it. So in this show, I had a whole white Venom suit. So and I had
okay.
gloves on. So I took out the gloves and I throw it to the ref. And then a fan, I see him and he's like, "Oh, yeah." And I look at him and I'm like, "Yeah, you know what's up."
Yeah, and that's kind of nice because like oftentimes, yeah, like it's nice to have records like and especially I'm more on EW. Like you get to see the same person, and it's like, all right, Orange Cassidy is going to defend the international crown again. Okay, all right, what's going to be up next? It's like the same old song and dance, but it's nice that you mention it to have variety because you want to keep the audience guessing. That's probably the
Yeah,
nicest part of having anything like that because like otherwise, yeah, if you do that same move, I mean, they're not gonna call like BS or anything, but they're gonna be like, oh, you did it again, really? you know?
yeah. Yeah, and it's like imagine doing the same thing like every week, every week. It's like, come on, you gotta give them a new taste. Always keep them on the edge of their seats.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm gonna bring up some matches too. And we talked about Battle Wars. What was it like to see two major promotions be in that event, and especially you're the first match in that event? Like, what was so special about seeing Inspire and New Texas doing this event from your eyes?
Well, from my eyes, it was like really great because I feel after Battle Wars, like a lot of people got to see what I really wanted the people to see in me, you know? Like, I've always wanted people to see that I can throw those one-on-ones with anyone. I can run any match, any type with anyone. Like, I want to be that guy that they can put me in a ring. Anyone could come out of that curtain and it will be a banger match, you know? And I feel that's what they got in Star Wars. And that whole week it was a roller coaster since the day before I think it was New Texas showcase. So it was like a lot of people just got to see me that week. But I feel like after Star Wars it was just a magic since I got to wrestle just Nick and then I got to work Adam. It was just like really good in general.
Yeah, and you had the four-way. It kind of sucks because I really wanted to see Rudy Garza that match. Sadly, he
Yeah,
got
Rudy
injured.
Garza.
Yeah, I kind of miss. I saw him in reality like a few months ago. And what was it like going against four people? Like, what was the process of going before and during and after the match?
I mean, before, like a couple days before, I went in with the mindset of wrestling Rudy Garza, right? With a lot of knowledge going in, and then missed three opponents for a four-way. So now there's not one, but three different opponents that I didn't know who they were. So I went in with like, honestly, I didn't know what I was going in with. It was just, we'll see how it goes, right? But during the match, the match it seemed really well. I feel like the guys Houston, um, Kyrie Wright and Chris Cruz are really well. I mean, I've seen Chris Cruz, I've seen Houston, and I've seen Kyrie. Like they're all really well, and I feel like they almost got the best of me, but I just came out on top.
Yeah, it's interesting because how has ad-libbing three other opponents, like what was the thought process of going through that? Because that can be, it's a scramble. And I had some footage on that on the phone. Like, how was that thought process of facing three other people and coming out on top?
Coming out on top was just like I always expected, right? Coming out on top. But like also wrestling different people, you always have to have your eyes everywhere since you can be almost winning and right from out of nowhere someone comes and blocks it. So it's like you just always need to be on your toes or maybe, you know, because you never know. There's always like three different people just waiting to jump in and get you. So you just don't know.
Yeah, and like how unique was it for each opponent? That yeah, like did you like study tape, or you kind of just went along with everyone with that match?
I kind of just saw like I've seen some of their footage. I've wrestled Houston before. Chris Cruz and Kyrie have not wrestled them, so I kind of knew Houston more. I studied them a bit more since I wrestled him, but Cruz, I didn't get like I didn't know anything about Cruz or Kyrie. They were just when I saw them both come out, it was I didn't even see Kyrie come out. He just attacked Houston, so it was something like I was like, my mind was very like out of this place because I didn't know who the last one was gonna be, and then Houston got attacked, so it was just everywhere in my mind.
You're just like all over the place with that match
Yeah,
too.
I was like,
I
what was going on? I was like totally unready, but like mentally I wasn't ready, but physically I was there, you know.
Yeah, and I mean, you did win after all, so that was kind of a good outcome from what you can see. And I'm curious too, like when Rudy comes back from injury, do you have any plans to wrestle him down the line, whether it's this year or some other time?
Oh, definitely, definitely. After that, I feel Rudy can see that, you know, I ain't backing down of nothing, even if it's a mystery opponent. Um, so I feel like Rudy really needs to get really trained, really prepared, because I ain't no ordinary luchador. I can work anything.
And it's a lot of just like really just like improvising and just going through the motions of a match too. And I'm kind of thinking too, like, uh, I wanted to bring this up too, and this was, I think, from last year. You had that 4-way with Brick, with Cavens, and with Shimbashi.
Oh yeah, that one was also wild.
I'm curious what your side of the story was.
That one was crazy. I gotta say, that one was probably like, that one was terrifying. One of like, I went in that match thinking, not even thinking about Cavens or Shimbashi. I went in thinking about Brick Savage, you know?
Of course.
I went in trying to avoid Brick, but man, I couldn't avoid him. We ended up being the last two.
Yeah.
Man, we couldn't take him. We couldn't take him out early. We couldn't take him out early. But my side, it was just I just try to take out Brick as fast as possible, but we couldn't, you know.
Always get the big guy first, no matter what.
Definitely.
Always.
But we just couldn't. They got Shimbashi out. I mean, I got Shimbashi out, but then
Mm.
Cavens got brutally attacked by Izzy James, and then
Yeah.
Brick with that humanly strength. God damn. That
It's
strength
something else. It really is. Like, were you there when Brick did the Hulk throw on Cavens, or were you just there on the side?
I was there I was in that same match, but I was like on the side. I think before that, I got hit or something. I don't think I was on the side. But I saw just Cavens fly in the air. And I was like, yup, I ain't gonna go in there and break it.
Yeah, it's like, dude, you don't want to get involved. The damage is already done.
I did not want to get involved. No.
Oh my goodness. So, of course, we have Russell Rave on the 30th, and you have an interesting opponent in La
Yeah.
Estrella. And you've had your dream of finally wrestling someone from the Japanese promotions, particularly in Dragon Gate. What are you preparing for this match? Because it's basically high flyer against high flyer.
Yeah, I mean, last year I practiced him recently in Inspire, but I've never actually like gotten to see any of his work. I've done like at least one match, but it was a triple threat, you know, so it's not really one-on-one. So, but I'm really excited for this match versus Astrea since he's someone really important as he's from Dragon Gate. He used to be part of the Masquerade and as the leader of Shun Skywalker, you know.
That's right. That's right. He was in Masquerade. I forgot about
Yeah.
that. And what are you? How are you going to train and prepare for that match too? Like, what are some things that you have to get ready before you face him down in Wrestle Rave?
I mean, I feel like right now, I just feel like getting on that cardio, you know, I just want to last more than him. I feel like I need to last more than him in order to win that match. I feel like it's not really much of like who's gonna give out first. It's just who's gonna get tired first. I feel like, but this is where I come in and my strength because I can, you know, I like changing the way I wrestle. So it's very unexpected what I'm gonna pull out here versus Australia in Wrestle Rate.
Yeah, and like, what is the one thing that you want to take away? I know the match isn't happening, but what are your expectations now that you're gonna face him down the line?
Now that I'm gonna face him, it's really tough. It's really something to think about since Australia is like someone pretty big. I got to wrestle Shun Skywalker actually, and that was a pretty tough match. So now seeing Estrella coming in as my second Dragon Gate opponent, I'm not trying to lose 2 second times to Dragon Gate.
Yeah, and I'm curious. We talked about New Japan. Would Dragon Gate be that alternate when that time comes for you to be in that promotion?
Maybe if they give me a call up, I'm ready to go to Japan. I feel like, well, for me, Japan is just the goal right now. Like, Japan is just the dream for me. To really just get the opportunity to wrestle in Japan is the goal for me.
Yeah, and that's always going to be because, like, in Japan, especially, a lot of these wrestlers, I notice, they're out there to prove themselves. Every single one, especially the ones who were either released by WWE or in AEW. You get to see the likes of an EG Styles or
For sure.
Kenny Omega or those guys. Like, is that going to be something that you see yourself is to just really prove yourself out there for everyone to see in your wrestling career?
Definitely. I want to prove myself as like, be the next master wrestler, but not the next, but the first ever. Because I have never really seen a master wrestler hold a IWGP World Heavyweight Champion for a long reign, really defend that belt, give himself his status. Like, I've seen, Rey Mysterio, he's considered a legend, but, he didn't get that title run. He didn't get that main event type that, he could have been. But right now, he's a legend, so you can't really just say that he's not a big main eventer, but I want to be that, like, that face of the company type guy.
Yeah, and you'll get that check because I'm seeing a lot of your matches and seeing the improvements every single match, and yeah, I can definitely see you just go through Japan and just proving yourself out there. Of course, you start somewhere. It could be Dragon Gate. Next thing you know, you're going to be in New Japan real soon. It could be New Japan Strong for all we know. Like, honestly,
Yeah.
especially with your career, it's kind of nice to see someone and see. And I've never seen a luchador. And honestly, like, that was the first match, was that 4-way with Brick, Cavins, and Shimbashi. I've never seen a luchador like up close.
Damn, really?
And yeah, it is. Yeah, seriously. I mean, Rey Mysterio has been like the only luchador I've seen, but like seeing a luchador face to face is different because you get to feel the action.
Yeah,
You
for
get
sure.
to feel it, which is kind of like nice to have. And like now that grind is happening, and now you're seeing someone from Dragon Gate. So honestly, like, yeah, it's on the up and up, honestly.
For sure. For sure. And Referee will get a really good match with me and Estrella. Estrella has to be ready because I will be coming in full gas and ready for everything.
Yeah, and it's gonna be a banger too on the 30th, and I'm curious, especially, and I think you kind of mentioned it earlier, like, what were some other goals you have in 2024? I know Japan is that one goal. Like, what else do you have in mind?
Some other goals is probably like just start expanding more out to the US, break out of Texas, maybe go start traveling other countries more, go to Australia, Germany, UK, you just start breaking out more and like start wrestling bigger talent, bigger names.
Yeah, and it's gonna be there down the line. It always starts somewhere. So, but
Definitely.
otherwise, yeah, this is gonna be the end of our little conversation. Thank you so much, Epydemius. I've learned a lot from you on your first. See, you can do it. You can do
For
it.
sure. Yeah. Thank
So,
you.
but yeah, so so I always end this conversation with this: the World Health. Let's do that again. The World Health Organization listed adolescents between the ages of 10 and 19. People who grew up in those ages tend to pick things up as they grow. Now, if you're in the same room as young Epydemius Jr. at age 14, what would you give him as advice, or what would you like to talk to him about?
You're gonna put your mind to something, stick to it, and do not work your ass off for it because nothing in life is given. So that's probably
Wow.
what I'll tell my younger self.
Oh man, that's deep. This is
Yeah,
very deep.
really.
So, but otherwise, thank you so much for joining us on this podcast. I have nothing left to give, but you have the floor. Where can we find you, and what are your upcoming events?
You can find me on social media on Facebook as Epydemius Jr. Luchador, on Instagram as Epi, and that's all my social media you can find me at. And I think I also have X, which I think is Epydemius Jr. Um, and my upcoming matches, Saturday, March 9th, I will be on AAA. This 10, on this Sunday, I'll be on that Houston. And then March 30th, WrestleWave. I also have March 15 at United versus Cody Lane. I have March 16 with the new promotion at Houston, with versus Diego. And then I have much more coming up for April and May, definitely.
All right.
Some
Awesome.
good promotions coming up.